State Representative Janine Nodder, and you're watching the first show of 2023 of Chatting with Janine. I brought in one of my besties this week because I've known her for a long time. She was a state representative for Manchester. She was an assistant majority leader put in place by our late speaker, Dick Hinch. And then she ran for mayor of Manchester. I've knocked on many doors for her. And now we're going to talk about being banned from Twitter. So please welcome Victoria Sullivan.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming out. I know we talked about, I know so many people, and there's like, everybody should be on my show at least once, and you have
I was
been
on your show, not this one, but I was on when you had the show with Elle in Londonderry.
I've had many different shows. I've had, a radio show. I've had different short-lived series across the river, and even in Manchester I've taped, so.
Yeah, you did Gary Hopper's show.
I did, but I also taped some specials back in the early days.
Nice.
So, well, you're finally here. So,
finally
and
here.
you matched the curtain over there.
Oh,
that
was
side.
good.
Yeah.
And Merrimack is such a beautiful town. I love coming here.
You have to come back so we can go to Los Primos.
I've not been there. We usually go to the Common Man when we're in town, so we'll have to check it out.
You'll love it. All right, now we're going to start with a photo. Justin's going to bring it up, and look what it says.
Yeah.
Your account is permanently suspended.
Yep.
And this is after Elon Musk.
Yes, this was very recently. This happened over the weekend. I had, for those of you who have been listening to what's going on in my city of Manchester, we have a huge homeless problem, a crisis that's happening that's grown exponentially over the last few years. We currently have 1,700 people who are considered homeless, 300 of those chronically, which means they never have a place to sleep. So the New Hampshire Journal, Michael Graham, the New Hampshire Journal, had done a piece on what was happening and the fact that our mayor has sort of reached out to the governor and sort of put up the white flag of surrender and laid the problem at his feet and asked for the National Guard to come in and take one of our facilities and use it as a homeless shelter for women. He went on to say how much support and tax dollars have come back to the city through the state, through the governor, and the governor responded to that too. That's what the article encompassed. And I retweeted that with a call for the mayor to resign because we have lost so many people on our streets in the last year that it's become a very tragic city. It was very respectfully said. I didn't swear. I never cuss. Like I don't, not on social media anyway. And I woke up the next morning to find that message, a message from Twitter in my email saying that my account had been permanently suspended. And when I went on, that picture that is up, that's what it looks like when I go on there. So basically, I have the privilege of reading tweets. And I can read the nasty things that are said about me, but I can't respond in any way, shape, or form.
See, I don't usually go on Twitter. I don't like Twitter. It just takes up too much time. But when I know that you tweeted something, I do make an effort to retweet your tweets, and then every once in a while I'll see something that I retweet.
And Twitter recently had become much more conversational. So I could go on there and post something and be talking, and I stay away from. I don't go places looking for confrontation or trouble. The other side is very unkind.
Right.
And so I try to avoid that as much as possible. But they'll come to my page, and, the New Hampshire chairman, Ray Buckley, chairman of the New Hampshire Dems, will come on my page and come at me. So I've defended myself against things. But I've not been trolling Twitter trying to cause problems. So
they've even gone after your children.
They've gone after my children.
I mean, you're a lowlife if you go after somebody's
There's
kids.
a tweet up there right now when they were discussing, like I said, I can read them, but I can't interact. There was a comment someone said, they probably rallied their forces. I guess if you attack someone enough or report someone enough, Twitter will get rid of your account. You don't. Because they don't tell you. They
got all their
tell
friends
me.
together.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They don't say this is why you were banned. I have nothing that explains why I was banned. If it was a particular tweet, anything I said, nothing like that. It just says you're permanently suspended. So, on it, somebody said, "I wonder what happened." She's always been respectful. I was enjoying the content, and because for the last week I had been posting videos of the business owners who had come forward at the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting and giving their firsthand testimony about what they have been dealing with the homeless in their businesses. There was a stabbing outside of the shelter, and this business owner said, the city doesn't clean that up. I had to pay a crew to come in and clean blood off of my steps before our patrons could come in.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is how severe things are.
Where was that stabbing?
Was
was that Beach Street?
That was Manchester Street.
Okay.
So there's a shelter on Manchester Street. So business owner after business owner showed up, and they gave similar testimony, cleaning up needles, just their patrons being accosted, fearing for the safety of their customers and their staff and their families, because a lot of these are small family-owned businesses. So I had taken the clips of the testimony from the meeting, from the public meeting, and just put them in their 3 minutes for each person and put them up so people could see, so they'd have to watch the whole meeting. Mm-hmm. So that and Michael Graham's article were the only things that I had put up recently. So that's the only information. So somebody really wanted to shut down the fact that I was revealing what's happening in Manchester, because you don't see it reported very often. I mean, you saw the baby that was born in the tent and left to die, right?
Did.
Luckily, the first responders got there and they were able to give aid to that baby. And the woman that died outside of the shelter in the tent. So those made national headlines. That was because that was Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. That happens all the time, not the babies situation, but people dying in their encampments and their tents all the time, and you don't hear about it very often. So I think somebody didn't like the fact that I was bringing this to light and I was revealing it. But on the flip side, if you're a conservative woman, you are definitely still targeted, and I think conservatives in general, but more so if you're a woman. And
oh yeah,
the Democrats can say what they want. When someone's asking why I got removed, somebody said because she threatened to kill a puppy. Well, they said unalive a puppy.
What?
Yeah, that's what they said. And that tweet is still up there, and that person has not been removed. And these are the things that they're allowed to say and do.
They're a double standard again.
Yeah.
But did you call Elon and say, hey, what's up, buddy?
Don't have his number. If anybody does and they'd like to send it in my direction, I'm happy to reach out to Elon. I know a lot of people have retweeted Michael Graham's art. It was actually written by Damian Fisher for the New Hampshire Journal. So they have retweeted Damian's article. They've tagged Elon in it to see if they could get me reinstated. But like I said, and I have appealed it, but like I said, they don't give you, there were no warnings. There was no, this is the reason this happened. So I can't address specifically what happened, right? I just don't know why I was suspended.
Well, I hope you get your Twitter account back. If you want
Me too, and all because I can read, like I said, I can read them. So our friend Herschel Nunez,
I love
and
Herschel.
some other people have been on there just being very supportive and asking for me to come back and reaching out to Elon and just saying nice things. So I just want you all to know that I've read them and I thank you for your support and I love you all back. And you can still find me on
Herschel's
Facebook.
Not a big social media guy, so
he does do
must...
Twitter quite a bit.
Okay,
he's kind of fun on Twitter, but you can still find me on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Victoria Sullivan, and we, communicate there. It's just that Twitter had sort of opened up. I hadn't been on Twitter for a long time because there was no sense. As soon as you would post something, the masses come out and try and shut you down, or they're just nasty, right? And it became a lot of that element was gone because people chose to leave Twitter when Elon came in, and it was much more conversational, and I was enjoying the conversations I was having with people, even people that don't always agree with me, because I think that's important too, to have conversations that might open your eyes to something else that you're not seeing. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just an echo chamber, but people had just been more respectful. I mean, there's always a few, but those really nasty elements sort of were leaving because they didn't like Elon.
Wow. So I wanted to get back to the homeless issue because I know, I was in Los Angeles in December of 2021, and my oldest friend, we've been friends since we weren't even 10 years old when we met. We were walking around and there's like a parking lot, and all around the parking lot, the entire perimeter are homeless tents. The homeless are everywhere. Yeah. It was unbelievable. And it sounds like Manchester's turning into Los Angeles.
For the size of the city, because we might be the largest city in New Hampshire, but we're still a very small city. For the size city that we have, the amount of homeless we have is unacceptable, completely unacceptable. And as you know, I ran for mayor twice. The first time was 4 years ago.
And you spent a lot of time talking with the homeless,
Yep.
and Corky Messner went
Yep,
with you.
he
and
did.
He talked to the homeless as well.
Yep.
I mean, you just sat there and talked to them. You weren't afraid.
No, I mean, it's scarier. Be honest with you, it's scarier now. And I say that because there's more people out there. But with the bail reform bill that we had put in place in the city, in the state, because we have a courthouse in Manchester, we have criminals that are put through that system. They're released on their own personal recognizance. They don't show back up. And they because we have so many encampments, they're able to hide in the trails. So we've got bad people hiding in these encampments. And we've had women that have been sexually assaulted. I mean, because you've got a lot of people that are out there because they've got mental illness or they have addiction, drugs, or alcohol. Alcohol is huge. We don't talk about it that much, but alcohol is a big reason that people are out on our streets.
Where are they getting it?
Oh, they get the natties on the corner. They only cost $1.25, I think. Because I had asked somebody, "What do you need? What can I do for you? What do you need to lift yourself off the street?"
Oh.
And she said $1.25 for a natty.
Oh boy. So
there are some people that don't want to be helped. They don't want to come off the street. But there are also people that we have, as a state legislator, you guys have done a really good job keeping county in check, spending in check, keeping state spending in check, but on the local levels, they're just not doing a good job. So your $2.5 million that came back to us for the Meals and Rooms tax, that came back to us for property tax relief, we never saw a penny of it. They spent it. Yeah, and you put in a bill last year for tax relief for businesses, and that's supposed to be helping, except when you've got local boards that just love to spend taxpayer money and they keep increasing property taxes. Well, we got people right now in Manchester that are barely holding on to their homes, but every time that happens, the apartment rents go up. So our most vulnerable see enormous increases because when you raise the property tax on an apartment, that business owner can't afford to just eat that tax. They have to get it from their tenants. Otherwise, you end up with slumlords that don't have any money to go into the repairs and the upkeep of their apartments, right? So although you on the state level and county level have done a great job with your budgets, on the city side, we haven't. So we have people out there that can't even afford to get into an apartment. First and last month's is about $4,000. So they can't even afford to save up the money to get into an apartment. So you've got people that are just in a bad way in between apartments that are living out there. Then you've got the mental health crisis because we don't have enough long-term facilities. We need more long-term care in the state. And then you've got people that are suffering from addiction that often go into rehab, and then when they come out, they've got no place to go because we don't do a good job with transitional housing. And this mayor in particular really pushed back against sober homes, and she doesn't want transitional housing. They want transitional housing only in the really bad parts of the city. And that's not good for people that are in recovery and trying to, because a lot of times being an addict leads women to prostitution, and their John is out in that neighborhood or their drug dealer is out in that neighborhood. So if you really want people to get well when they come out of rehab, they need to have transitional housing that is in better neighborhoods, that lifts them up into a better life and not return them back to the streets.
Families in Transition that is on Beach Street, the south end. I think it's south.
That's actually South Beach Street.
Oh, okay. Okay, this south.
That's my street. That's
well, that used to be my church. That was my church, Our Lady of the Cedars, and then we moved to the old St. Teresa's.
Oh, really? I didn't know that's where that church was. Yeah, that building itself is for families, and we don't have any problems there ever. But when you've got the individual fit houses, when I did a ride along with the police, they would go by and say, like, that's a drug house, that's a drug house, that's a drug house. And they're doing drugs right there on the properties.
Now, I don't know if you were in the state legislature at the time, but we had discussed forcing the homeless people into shelters on the coldest days. And we had this dilemma because you're like, okay, do we force these people to save their lives? or or give them the freedom because they don't want to go. They don't want to go.
Well, and I'll tell you some of the reasons they don't want to go, especially women, are sexually assaulted in the shelters all the time. So we've got a shelter right now, the one that they've built. You've probably seen the pictures. They've on Manchester Street. There's a families in transition shelter, and they have a tent city that's built all around it.
Okay, I read about that in the paper just today. I thought that was the Families in Transition on South Beach Street.
No.
Okay,
No,
so what was that one called? Maybe I'm getting confused.
So the same company as Families in Transition. They're the same organization, but the one that you're talking about on South Beach is a family. It's for family housing to help people get back on their feet. This is a shelter.
All right.
It's not housing, it's a shelter. You go in at 7 o'clock at night, you have to be out at 7 a.m.
Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up is when you were running for mayor the first time, you talked a lot about the homeless. You went and talked to the homeless. And then on election day, where's all the homeless?
Yeah, that was amazing,
Where did
wasn't
they go? They were just, all of a sudden, they were gone. Where did they go?
It's amazing that every election, like just a few days leading up to it, they tend to disappear. I don't know what happens. I honestly don't know what happens.
That's a question to ask. Who rounds them up and then hides them?
I've had so many people come to me and say that to me, like, well, you can always tell this. Or if there's a big news crew coming because of First in the Nation, which I don't know how that's going to work out now, but we would have them all of a sudden disappear, or any big events downtown, they would disappear. I don't know where they would go, I'm honest with you. But I agree. A lot of people brought that to my attention, that all of a sudden they just sort of evaporate. But now, when these business owners went before the board the other night, there was a knee-jerk reaction to have more overnight. So these shelters, like, we need shelters that don't just kick them out during the day, that provide services, give them job training, give them a way to get off of the streets, because we're not providing that right now. We're providing a place for them to flop at night, and then they're out in the cold all day. And we really need to make sure that these people are getting help and services, and sharing stories of people that have been successful getting off the street, because I think peer support is really important. But after that meeting, they had this knee-jerk reaction to move all of the homeless that are sleeping outside around that building to the Cashin Senior Center.
And where's that at?
That is on the west side of our city. It's 2 doors down from West High School. So they will
near
be in
the
there.
Catholic Medical Center.
Yes.
Okay.
So they'll be in there at 6 o'clock at night. They'll be removed at 6 a.m. Students will be coming into school around 7:30, and you're going to have homeless people lingering around there. And like I said, some of these homeless people are just people that are down on their luck. But you don't know, looking at somebody, if they're one of the ones that are down on their luck, if they're mentally ill, or if they are one of the guys that, one of the men or women that is out on a warrant, or, didn't show up for their next court appearance and got out on PR bail. So you don't know, right? So these kids don't know if the people that are around them are safe or not. That's a concern for me. But also, the director of our senior center put out a notice saying that she didn't want this as a solution, because we have an ongoing problem with bed bugs in the shelter that we have. Mm-hmm. And elderly people coming in to use the Cashin Center now are, they're vulnerable to infections and things like that. They absolutely can. So there's a lot of concerns and illnesses that linger in the building. There's just a lot of concerns to have our elderly sharing that kind of a facility with our homeless. So, this mayor just keeps blaming the governor. I got a call from the governor's office today going over exactly what the state has been doing in the city as far as outreach. And the governor released a letter the other day about the tens of millions of dollars that each of these cities have received. And you see that Nashua and Portsmouth and Laconia will do a letter with Mayor Craig, because they're not foolish. Those other mayors know that if there are facilities put in place, they'll be placed in Manchester. So they're alleviating their problem and making a bigger tax burden for our citizens. So these are the topics I've been talking about on Twitter and on Facebook, and apparently revealing what's happening.
Circling back to being banned from Twitter.
Revealing what's happening apparently got people's knickers in a twist, and they decided that I should be silenced.
Wow. So you were canceled in a sense.
I was canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canceled.
Yep.
It's a scary thing because you're not. I've known several people. We have some mutual friends who have been canceled. And I don't even want to say what has happened to them in case somebody watching says, "Oh, I hadn't thought of that." I'll
Oh
try
no, they've
that."
come after my job before. When I was running for mayor before, they made up stories and they went to my employer. And luckily,
that's what happened. Yeah.
Luckily, HR and I had a conversation, and they saw through it, and they knew it was happening, and they, supported me through it. And they actually were concerned for my safety after seeing researching some of the people that were coming after me. And we're like, if you let us know if you need any security, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I don't think people understand the scope of what's happening, and this is all just partisan.
And you teach firearm safety. Do you still do that?
Yep, yeah, I still do.
And I've
Women's
gone,
Defense League of New Hampshire.
I've gone to the range with you before.
Yep. So I mean, I hate to have to say that I have to protect myself, but in this day and age, it's when these people come after you, it can be scary. And I have a family. Mm-hmm. I still have a family. Like you said, they came after my kids before and put their pictures everywhere. And it's just, I can't imagine. Like, let's disagree on policy. We can disagree on policy all day long. And maybe somewhere in the middle, you as a state rep, you have to find the middle ground to get anything done. But the other extremes that are happening in this country are unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
I make it a point to not go and look at anything that people that don't like me will write about me. It's just the way it has to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to see what they're saying, but I still see it. And the ones that are mean and nasty and just absolutely obnoxious online, they'll come up and try to be all friendly. And it's like, you know what? No.
No.
I don't want to be fake friendly.
No, and one of your Merrimack state reps is really horrible online. Can I say her name?
No.
All right. Well, just letting you know, it was a top vote getter in your city. And she is really not a nice person. She's really horrible to people online. She spreads, false information, and she's nasty to people. And then, so it shocks me when I see that she becomes
got
the
a lot of votes. So
and I think that people don't. I think when she's probably out knocking on doors, talking to people, they don't understand how she's actually treating other people on the other side. She's been horrible to you. And I don't think that people see that side all the time.
No, I just avoid her at all costs.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. So policy is one thing, but it's like
I don't
do fake friendly.
And arguing over policy or debating over policy is important because that's how you figure out if you've got it right. Maybe you didn't get it. How many times have you been in the State House? Because this used to happen to me all the time, and I'd be in a hearing and I had the bill in front of me and I knew exactly what I thought about that bill. I knew exactly how I was going to vote on it. Mm-hmm. And then you start hearing testimony at the hearing and you're like, I didn't see that as an outcome. I didn't understand that was a repercussion of this. And the person that wrote the bill often will go back after a hearing and alter it. They'll amend it because they didn't see that either. So having the conversations is really important. And, then we find the middle ground, like I said, and we don't get anything accomplished if we're all digging in our heels all the time. Mm-hmm. We need to work together to get things done for the people.
Yep. And it's not an easy job.
No,
we do. No. We have some new people on my committee this year. We had our first hearing, or not hearing, but we had our first meeting today. And we were listening to them. The guy next to me, I said, wow, they sound like us. So I have hope that we'll get some good things done for New Hampshire.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
All the other stuff has to go away so that people can get the work done, right? All the noise that we have. New Hampshire politics is brutal. It's really divisive. And as long as we continue on that path, we don't get the work done that we need to. I mean, I watch Governor Sununu is so well liked in the state. And if you look at how the vote turned out for him, I mean, people on both sides of the aisle just appreciate the work that he's done, the job he's done.
I was at the inauguration, and obviously it was his family that walked in. I'm like, oh my gosh, they all look alike. One of his brothers looks just like him. And then the one brother, well, I know his brother who was the senator too, and his wife. But his brother Michael, he's really big on energy. So I know him, but I didn't see him, but I saw the other. I'm like, well, you could tell that's a sister, that's a brother, that one's a brother. Yeah. It's a big, big family.
And he's really well liked, and a lot of people. I mean, there are some people that disagree with the
and
way
I know people
that
don't like him. So what I say is, I'm like, hey, you know what? He is with us on, and I'll start naming off issues. He's with us on this. He's with us on this. I said,
Yeah.
so if you vote for the other guy or don't vote at all, we don't have anybody with us on these issues.
But even with his popularity, his bipartisan popularity, you'll see the other side rip him to shreds on a daily basis. I mean, they just come at him and they say horrible things, and most of them like aren't even true. They mislead people about what he's doing up there. I think on the fellow Republicans that go after him, they don't think that they lie about what he's doing. I just don't think that they like certain things that he does, right? They have a different
Well, I don't agree with him on
value,
everything
right?
either, but
on
I'm
the other
grateful
side,
to him for what we do agree on.
Right. But on the other side, I watch them actually try to manipulate the conversations around it and be untruthful, right? So then we're not getting anything done because people don't have all the information and all the facts. And it's important to give people the right information.
We only have 2 minutes left. But
No, that's not
I want to
possible.
say one more thing is at the inauguration, I saw a side of our governor that I never saw before. When he thanked his wife who gave everything, he choked up. And I'm like, oh. And I said, that's what I did. I said, oh.
That's nice.
It was nice to see that. And I know he doesn't like Moxie, so.
I know we need to send him a case of Moxie just for
know.
fun.
Yeah.
So we were at the beach one time and we did a
You had a Moxie.
I had a Moxie. I think we did Facebook Live with our friend Kim.
I don't know, he saw it, yeah.
And he made a comment about not liking Moxie, so I don't understand. I'll forgive him for that. That's one thing we do not see eye to eye on because
Yeah,
I
that's
am a
that's
Moxie girl.
That's a big thing, yeah.
It brings me back to the days of sitting with my grandfather watching General Hospital, having a
With
Moxie
your
after
grandpa?
school. Yeah, back in that day, it wasn't as racy as it is now. But yeah, Moxie's been a long-time love of mine.
All right,
But-
not the governors.
But so he and I will part ways on that one.
Well, in our last minute, do you have anything you want to say to the viewers about being banned on Twitter?
I want to thank you for having me here, and to all the folks that are calling for me to be reinstated, keep calling. Maybe we'll get Elon's attention, but I think having the conversations, even with people that you disagree with, are important. And I think the moment that we start to silence people for revealing the truth or revealing what's happening, people are literally dying on my streets, literally dying on a daily basis. And trying to cover that up doesn't help the city. It just perpetuates what's happening here. So let's stick together. Let's try to be more vocal and let people know what's going on, because honesty brings, what's that saying? Sunlight's the best disinfectant, and that's how we start to identify the work that needs to get done and move forward.
Good source of vitamin D as well. So thank you, Victoria, for being on the show and talking to me about the homeless and being banned on Twitter. And thank you, the viewers, for watching. And I'll be back with another show as soon as I change my jacket.